Most probably not, isn't it? And then meaningless talk, that's the fourth. Yeah? So if we have lying, then divisive speech or slander, then harsh words or hurtful words, and meaningless talk, of which we spend a lot of time. Now again, if somebody is really sad and depressed, and you start to tell them, what would you do with somebody who's depressed? What would you tell them? How would you use your speech? Huh? Cheer them up, but how? Oh, you need to speak really loud, otherwise I don't hear you.
Compliment them, make them laugh.
Okay, make them laugh. Have you ever tried to make somebody laugh who is depressed? That's what we try, isn't it? It doesn't work. It really doesn't work. It seems as if they almost put effort into not finding funny what you say, so that they don't have to laugh. It's quite amazing, actually. Notice it when you are depressed and the friend is trying to cheer you up, how you feel hurt, how you feel not seen, how you feel not respected. How can she be interested in telling me the stupid things when I'm in such a bad state? So that's not skillful. I tell you what Dribble Rinpoche did when we were complaining about something. I think it was, anyway, it was one of the Italian monks who complained that he had to go to, he was in Dharamsala, yeah, who complained that he had to go to Australia. He complained, he said, Australia, food is really bad, pasta, you can't eat the pasta there. It wasn't Antonio, okay? He was a younger one. And so Dribble Rinpoche is a Tibetan Lama who has been imprisoned by the Chinese army for 17 years. So when we would start, complaining about things, he would just tell us but in a very neutral way, he said, one day they had this crazy idea to tie my hands behind my back, and they left me like this for days and days and days. I made pee-pee caca in my pants. It was very difficult to get up, it was very difficult to sit down, and then all of a sudden they released it. And that was it, that's the story he told. What do you think would happen to you when you complain about going to Australia because the spaghettis are no good? Huh? Then you would see, not so bad. Yeah. So to help them to be able to put it into perspective, but not directly, but look at these and this and this, but just telling them something, and then maybe they, from their own side, they see that, actually it could be worse when I'm going through like this. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult to get somebody out of depression. Because in depression, the sense of I, me, is the biggest. And somehow, in a perverse way, we enjoy it. Somehow. Don't want to let go. And I think psychologists, maybe you can affirm that view, that when one is in that state, one almost refuses. Although of course, they won't help. But somehow they don't really want to get out of it. It's quite interesting to see. Yeah? Because also in there, it's in the black hole, you can give up all responsibility. You always have a good excuse. Which is not nice, but it's comfortable somehow. Yeah? We're such complicated beings. We're so full of contradictions. Full of contradictions. Yeah. How did we get on to the depression? Remember anybody?
Speech.
With the speech, how do we use with the gossip, right? How do we use our speech? So if you see somebody's not too depressed and you maybe think that these kind of jokes, they would help them, then by all means, it's not meaningless talk, it's not gossip or this and that. Yeah? So again, it's very difficult to see, is it gossip, no gossip? I think you can find out yourself. Gossip is usually when you talk about somebody who's not present. I mean, that is such a dangerous thing. Because, here maybe not so much, but like for example in Yechiam we had this, but when you went to the toilet there was this kind of fake wall made out of bamboo. Remember, sometimes it was standing there. in the Gompa. A separation. So let's say you think everybody has gone from the Gompa, your best friend is still there, but the one that is definitely not your best friend, you think that she has gone, and then you start to tell your best friend, although you're in silence, but still, did you see what she did? Wow, she did this and this and this and this and this. And all of a sudden, that person, you see them, they're not coming to you, but you see them going out the door, and you understand she understood or she heard what I said. Now, when it makes you feel happy, and you say, finally she knows what I think of her, no, it's okay. But usually it makes us feel what? Uneasy, uncomfortable. Huh? Uncomfortable, why? Why do we feel uncomfortable?
We know it's wrong. We know it's wrong.
We know?
It's wrong.
We know it's wrong. Why do we know it's wrong?
And ourselves.
Because if it would happen to us, we would definitely not like it. Although again, if you go a very high spiritual practitioner, he would go, oof, finally I know what people think about me. And they would be very happy and they would check. They would check what they say. Is that true? Maybe I didn't see it like that, but maybe there's some truth in it. Because very often, actually, we need others to kind of be a little bit of a mirror. Yeah. Because at one point I was saying something to a friend of mine, and I was saying about an old person who is, I said, oh, it's incredible how impatient she is when she doesn't get what she thinks she should get, or when things don't go her way. And this friend of mine very spontaneously said, yeah, you do the same. And it's the first time I really saw it. And then I could start working with it. Yeah? Only then. So it's not pleasant when people say these things. So please, again, as a good spiritual practitioner, you don't need to go and tell everybody what they're doing wrong. Yeah? But sometimes it's helpful, but again, you have to be very skillful so that they're not hurt and whatever. I wasn't hurt, it wasn't pleasant, but I wasn't hurt. And then I looked and thought, wow, shit, she's right. Yeah, so then slowly. Because you see, if we don't practice these things now, it will be very difficult to look after us when we're old. And if you don't die soon enough so that you're still independent and whatever, somebody will have to look after you. And the more easy you make it for them, the more they will like what they're doing. The more you are resisting and, you're resenting that you're not independent anymore. That is the biggest fear of all people, that they lose their independence, isn't it? Is it or is it not? Do you have this fear? Okay, I tell you something. Your so-called independence is a total illusion. We're depending on so many other beings, just that we don't see them. But just imagine if all the people in the shops who fill up these shelves, they would stop working. You're depending on them, that they do this job. All the farmers would stop working. All the garbage people would stop working. All the doctors, all the dentists, all the teachers, all the bus drivers, all the train drivers, everybody would stop working. You think you could survive? So this kind of independence thing is like a total illusion. We should think we're independent, but we're not. Yeah. So that also, we can already let go of that now, and it's okay, and to learn to be flexible a bit, and, So with this gossip, or with this, how to say, unnecessary talk or meaningless talk, then again it can be either that or it can also not be that. Most of the time it is totally not necessary. That when you go to work with Mother Teresa, then they teach you how to use your speech. So before you say something, you check, is it true, is it kind, and is it necessary what I'm about to say. So you won't say much. Yeah, I mean, if you really go with that principle, so maybe tomorrow when you talk again, so if you still have some kind of little bit of awareness left, then before ask yourself these three things. And when we go home in the car, we can support each other. So because we talk usually all the way down, and so from time to time, one of us will say, Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Shall we do that? Good. Leora, shall we do that?
Yes, we will.
Okay. We probably have forgotten.
Driving science.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I hope Susanna's not going to fall asleep. Yeah. So we can support each other in the practice by doing these things. Okay, so those are the 4 of speech, and then there is the 3 of mind, the 3 negative actions of mind, which is envy, or sometimes they call it covetousness. In Hebrew? Or is it all clear? Yeah, she suggests, and then when you find a better word for yourself, you use the better word. So maybe the definition of it is what? The definition of it is like you're not content. You see that somebody else has something that is better than what you have, and your whole effort gets into. It's not just the mind state, it's actually that mind state makes you act in order to have at least the same what they have, or if not better. That is envy or covetousness. And then being very happy when you have it to completion. Car, you know, or mobile phones or computers, or usually it's how to say it? Usually it's material things. I like that. So that's envy or covetousness. Okay? A very, very unpleasant state of mind. Because you cannot be happy about what you have. Never, ever. You're always on the lookout, who has more than I, and how can I get this? And your whole energy goes into getting that. That's why it's negative. Because you waste a lot of time. And actually also, negative actions, very much, you know, what lies behind them is attachment or desire, not so much aggression. Then harmful thoughts, or sometimes it's called ill will. That also, what it includes also is negative rejoicing. And there we have to be very careful also. It comes so quick, yeah, the negative rejoicing. Somebody who is a nasty person, or, you know, let's say a politician is not very honest and is corrupt, doesn't matter which one. And then he is found out, and he is stripped of his power, and then he's put into prison. Then, if you are from that country, would you be happy?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, but only for the stop. We can be happy for people to stop getting hurt by him, and he stops.
Exactly. Yeah. So the happiness that he's in prison is okay. The happiness is pretty neutral. But then why you are happy, you know, who he will rot and he will suffer. You know. This then would go into negative rejoicing. Okay? Happiness, wow. Maybe he is able in prison to look at his own mind and understand what he's done. Most of the prisoners don't. You see, this is what a prison is for. A prison is not to punish people. A prison is for people to learn that their actions have consequences. And then they should get some education how to change these actions. That is what the prison is for, but then that costs a lot of money. That's very expensive. They tried in Denmark, they did that for a while. They had very good results, but I think also the project was abandoned because it's too expensive to pay all these psychologists and mental trainers and all this. In the long run, I think it will pay in the long run, but not in the short run. Then we have like the prison project here in Israel, where people go to meditate with the prisoners. There's Liberation Prison Project all over the world from the FPMT. There's a lot of things happening. But then it's on a voluntary basis. People are not paid to do that. So if anybody wants to give money to that organization. It's Michal Warszawski who is organizing that. They're looking for funds, because otherwise also it will stop. See, even though these people don't earn anything, but they need material, they need books, they need, I don't know what else, so they need to go there, it costs money. So if you would like to help, because you want to have less criminals, then by all means do. You will benefit from it. Yeah. So you could rejoice like this, you could rejoice for others, that they are protected from him, from that criminal, but it's good if we can include the person also, that he or she is protected, is not put into a position anymore where they can repeat their negative actions. Okay? So that is not, try not to rejoice in a kind of negative way, but again, it comes so easy. Yeah? Isn't it? It comes very easy, this negative rejoicing. I feel so good. That's the problem. You see, positive actions, negative actions. Then we think a positive action has to feel good. No, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes it's very painful when we have to restrain ourselves from doing the negative action. And blurting out this unpleasant word or whatever, it's such a relief and it feels so good, or the negative rejoicing. Yeah? With the negative rejoicing, we can also see, especially when there's conflict, how this side suffers, then the other side goes, ah, then this side suffers, then this side goes, ah, as if that would change something. Nothing changes. Yeah? Nothing changes. As long as we can't put ourselves on the same level and see that nobody wants to suffer and everybody wants to have happiness, and we stop being happy when others suffer just for the sake of suffering. Very often also our confused mind thinks that through suffering they will understand something. This is what the prison system is built up on. They are being deprived of their freedom. So therefore we put them there and then they will understand and learn something. Well, I think if one would understand automatically through suffering, we would have a wonderful world. But it's exactly the opposite. If suffering does not know what to do with itself, if suffering comes and one feels that this is unjust, it's not justified, it turns into aggression. Either aggression towards yourself, so you become depressed, or aggression towards others outside. So suffering is when you have a lot of wisdom and you know about, and you have a view where you can see the meaning in the suffering. And you can see a reason that for you holds why this is happening to you now. Then you can become a very beautiful person, but only then. Yeah. Not I deserve it, not it's not just, none of this. But yes, there have been causes being created and this is the consequence. I can now try to transform in order to stop producing more causes. Yeah, then suffering is useful, but that's the only way. That's the only way. Otherwise, it's totally useless. Okay, do you have killing is clear. Yeah, killing is like taking somebody's life. Stealing is also clear. Sexual misconduct, if you look at the scriptures, it's very cultural also, it's very traditional, like 2,500 years ago. So I think if the Buddha would live now, he would maybe also change something in this. So it's kind of wrong time, wrong object, and wrong organ. So when gay people hear the wrong organ, immediately the red light comes up, Kind of all the Buddhists, they don't like lesbians, they don't like homosexuals. I mean, if you look how many lesbians and homosexuals we have, even as ordained people, and nobody is judging them for what they are, then, let go of that thing. And then also we really latch onto that, isn't it? I mean, we lie, we're not honest without declaring in the taxes, we have negative rejoicing, we kill mosquitoes without thinking too far, and all this doesn't matter. But this wrong organ thing becomes so strong. Yeah, also with the church. I mean, not just with the Buddhists. I mean, it's like. So the other day, I got a telephone call from the Swiss TV saying if I could come. They're doing a program about marriage for everybody. Yeah, because that's a big thing now in Europe. It's like in Germany they already have it. And so in order to give them the Buddhist view. So I said, I don't know the Buddhist view, you know. And I said, I don't think there is one Buddhist view. If a Tibetan in the furthest, you know, valley of the Himalayas, he probably has a totally different view than I have. And I said, I can only give you my personal view, but I don't know if that's the Buddhist view. And my personal view is if somebody wants to get married, whether it's man and man, woman, 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 man, whatever, as long as they don't harm or hurt itself, and as long as both want it, by all means, I have totally nothing. Who am I to say they should marry? I mean, yeah. That's the main thing, that nobody gets hurt. You see, you can have sexual contact, the two right organs, which is the penis and the vagina, but it can be in a very rough way, it can be in a totally non-loving way. So that, I would say, is much worse than having the wrong organs, but you do it out of love and consideration and not too much, too much attachment to your own pleasure being fulfilled and blah, blah, blah. So again, it's like, don't just look at this wrong organ thing. And I think also, the Dalai Lama who said, at the beginning when he came to the West, he used to say, yeah, it's sexual misconduct. Now he also says, well, it's a cultural thing, and you know, as long as nobody gets hurt, then it's okay. Yeah, so even that can be changed. When it comes down to wrong organ, that is for people who do tantric practices also. Then it becomes important. Because you have chakras at the tip of your sexual organs, and if they meet the wrong chakras, then it damages your tantric practice. But I would say, I'm definitely not there to have, control over my sexual energies like that I can make them go up and down. And I'm saying, nobody who is sitting here has this, so you don't have to worry about that one. I think. And if you think that you have to worry about that one, because of your tantric practice, then go and ask your teacher that gave you the initiation and the instructions what you should do. Don't come and ask me, I don't know. I don't know about this. But if you think you're so high and you're so advanced in your tantric practice that you start to worry about the wrong organ thing, then ask your teacher whether you could continue or not. Yeah, having if you have the same-sex relationship, that's what I mean. Okay? So then also with this view that whether gay people can get married or not, if the Dalai Lama is asked, because then I have to look at the internet what he says, so at least I have the Dalai Lama's opinion, that he says, but it's not a matter for religion, this whole thing, marriage is something that has to do with laws and rules and agreements that, who belong. The money belongs to whom, who pays what, and the children, all that. It has nothing to do with the temple. This is for authorities, it's not for people who make laws, it's not for the temple. That's the Dalai Lama's view. I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's the Dalai Lama's view. And I pretty much share this view also, But then, of course, people say, well, for the Christians we go before God and we give each other that, in good times and bad times. And what else do you say? Good times, bad times, we will always look after each. We will, until death departs and something like that. It's a big promise, It's like, I don't know if then God will come and help you to keep that promise when things get tough. But at the beginning, when you're in love with each other, yeah, then of course, good times, bad times, it's okay. But sometimes life can be very long, before death comes. It's a tricky thing, these relationships. So, but when does it go into sexual misconduct is especially when you force somebody, when you pay somebody who wouldn't have sex with you if you wouldn't pay them, when somebody is not in their right mind, like when somebody's drunk or under drugs, and you kind of know that they would sleep with you if they would be sober, when somebody's too young. Yeah, like when you use their naivety or innocence, and then you kind of, even though they say, yeah, it's okay. But definitely with children, it's like, keep your hands off children. I mean, they cannot make decisions whether it's right or wrong, but you as a grown-up, you should know when somebody's 12 years old or whatever. We all know it's far too young to have sexual contact. So all that would go into sexual misconduct, but then also when you are in agreement with one person, that you are a couple, whether married or not, it doesn't matter, and then you go off, like adultery or being unfaithful, it's called. Yeah. You go off with somebody else and have sexual conduct. Then that goes into sexual misconduct, or when you know that somebody else who has a partner and you have sexual conduct with that person, then also goes into sexual misconduct. If you look at the scriptures, wrong time, wrong place, wrong person, wrong organ, the only way that you're not committing this, that you don't have sexual misconduct is when you have no sexual conduct. Really, I mean, it's like so complicated. Because both, it should be an agreement also. Yeah? So maybe at the beginning, maybe for the first 2 weeks of your relationship, something like that, maybe it is. But then it could be wrong time, So, they have these things not in front of your parents. Yeah. Not in front of your children. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. But then it's like not in front of an altar. Maybe you're Buddhist, that makes it complicated. So some people, they have only one room, but they're in a relationship, so they cover the Buddha as they go. You think, the Buddha's mind is everywhere. Don't you think they can see through the cover? So even they can't see through the cover, at least they can hear. So it's like, So it's out of respect, this whole thing is kind of a respect thing. Lying is pretty clear also, isn't it? Like telling something that is not true, because in order to deceive the other person, slander, it's also like with the motivation of splitting or getting somebody evicted from the group, or to create a bad reputation for somebody is also clear. Harsh words, clear. If it's not clear, then ask. Yeah. Gossip, also clear. Envy, I will read something from the Lamrim Chenmo, which is a bit technical, but then it makes it more clear. Harmful thoughts. And then the third one of the mind is wrong views. So wrong views is being convinced that something does not exist, when, as a matter of fact, it does exist. Or being convinced that something does exist, when, as a matter of fact, it does not exist. But that one is very complicated. I mean, even even the other three are kind of, to make it, you see again, because also with these, okay, so then again with these, can I still continue, or do I have to wait for the camera? Like also with these actions of the mind, you need to have 4 factors present. It's not just the action. So for it to be a fully fledged action, like so for the action to be complete. So this is from the Lamrim Chenmo. This is from the master program where they study this in detail, backwards and forwards. So then covetousness, for this to be a full-fledged actions, here actually 5 qualities are required. Having a mind that is exceedingly attached to your own resources. Having a mind of attachment that wants to accumulate resources or more things. Having a mind of attachment that wants to accumulate resources, Having a mind of longing due to comprehending or experiencing the good things of others, their wealth, and so forth. Having an envious mind, thinking that whatever is another's should be mine. having a mind that is overcome due to covetousness by shamelessness and obliviousness about the determination to be free from the thoughts of covetousness. You don't care anymore. You drop that.